Alright, so good evening. Our project is actually not about necessarily directly about the future cities, but about their supplementation with goods, for example, with food or exactly with food.
Basically about nutrition.
It might not be the topic that we actually think about, but it's sort of important because if most of the population will live in the cities, we will also have to have some people who care about the stuff we eat. Maybe there are some futuristic visions. For example, fans of science fiction movies are keen on eating food from pills. Maybe some are not. But actually, last year we were a part of a competition called First Lego League, and its topic was a food factor. So basically, part of the competition is research project. We had to conduct a project about something, our vision of food in future, which wasn't necessarily an easy task. Because a lot of things that can be improved has already been improved, and it's really hard to find something new. Until one day we had a brainstorming and we were hungry, so we went to grab some lunch. And on the way back, one of us pointed out that the tomatoes tasted like, well, not really well. And so we decided to look at it, why it might be so. This is our team in front of a library in Cottbus. So basically, Filip will now talk about why the tomatoes doesn't taste so good.
So these days, tomatoes are grown especially by hydroponic, which is not growing in normal soil, but in water, which is filled with some nutrients for the exact plant. And basically, the plant is growing pretty fast. But what's bad, it can't store enough nutrients in its tomatoes or fruits. So the fruit tastes like water. It's like
Water balloon.
Yeah, water balloon. And that's why when you buy a tomato in a supermarket, it's not so good as if you plant it on your garden. We also tested it in a laboratory where we
did a few experiments with it, and it actually turned out that the tomatoes grown in a garden were much healthier, comparing it with the amount of vitamins and also sugars and whatever not.
And it was not like something small in the tube, but really big differences. So
basically, we had this idea that it's better to grow it like in gardens. So as we all might know, we grow it in garden in soil, but in a greenhouse. So logically, we face a challenge to put a greenhouse into a container, and that's the way how our fresh conti originated. Some of you might see it, some of you might not. We'll show it on the picture later. And basically, the main idea is that we put the ordinary greenhouse into a container. This one is in a scale, it's a model.
1 to 10.
1 to 10, it's a model of a container that is usually used in ships or in trucks or in trains to make it as compatible as possible with all the means of transportations.
The main case about the transportation is that we can transport the container to the place where is enough light, so the tomatoes or whatever is inside can grow on normal light, which is best for the plant. So it has enough nutrients, enough water, which is stored inside, and it can grow well and has the right taste for you.
So basically the principle is that we, for example, store the container somewhere in the field, for example, let's say in Italy. The process of growing of tomato would last about 25 weeks. So let's imagine that after 20 weeks of it growing, we put it on a train and it comes here to Slovakia next to our, let's say, supermarket where we buy the food every day. The people who work there just pick the tomatoes and you have absolutely fresh tomatoes. Basically, when you buy a tomato these days in supermarket, it's picked green and it matures in a truck, but with absolutely no sunlight, absolutely no nutrition. So this is way healthier alternative. So that's the idea, and now about the inner part of the container. We had to do a lot of brainstorming, and basically we had to look at the conditions that are necessary for the growth of the tomatoes. So now we will just show you all of them. So I'll begin. As all of us know, water is vital for growth of basically anything. So our container is equipped with expansional tank. Why expansional? It's simple to keep it as much green and as much energy efficient. Simply the pressure of a balloon that is here presses the water into water pipes, which just wet all the tomato plants, and Filip might talk better.
Okay, so the ground of the tomatoes here will be semi-permeable, so the water that wasn't used for the plants will soak down and can be again used, so it wouldn't be wasted. Then there is air conditioning, which provides the right air temperature for the tomatoes. Then
the air conditioning also requires a certain amount of electrical energy, so it's provided by a solar panel on the roof of the container to make it as much cheap enough.
Yeah, and also the roof will be from glass, so the tomatoes have the sun power. When the containers are stored, for example, one on another, for example, on a ship, we can put them one on another, and we use these like sun panels, which can provide sunlight for the containers under the first one. And we have counted that we can store about
5 of the containers on each other to provide enough sunlight for the both solar collectors and also for the fruits. So that will pretty much be it. Basically, you can imagine it. It's a greenhouse put into a container of a ship, for example. Well, to be honest, this is hopefully a great idea, but it might not be that efficient as we have hoped, because with current state of, or with the species that we know already, it wouldn't be that cost efficient. The price of the tomatoes would be around 400 times higher. So actually, as the idea goes and as the future comes closer, there might be species which are more dense. One plant can bear more of the fruit. But for now, this idea is just in concept. So hopefully in future we'll have such a species that will be able to bear as much of it to provide us with the healthiest food that we can actually afford.
Maybe I can say that we have another ideas, like use the container for some transparency and pay the tomatoes inside, or
actually help to get some income from the advertisements on the containers.
And what next to say, we are presenting you work that was awarded with few awards, so
hopefully you liked it.
Thanks.
Thanks for your attention.